Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Pan, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. Thank you for being for my defense exam. And I think, thank you, especially Dr. Pan is staying up late and and other committee members getting up early. So today I'm going to do my dissertation defense. The title is Leveraging the Use of Associated Acoustic Signals for the Usable Security. And my name is Chenpei Huang, and the advisor, Dr. Pan. The committee chair is Dr. Pan, and welcome all the members, Dr. Becker, Dr. Marish, Dr. John, Dr. Yuan, and Dr. Lee. So let's get started today. So here is today's outline. I'll first give you the introduction of why I'm doing this research and the motivation of this research. And I will then introduce three works finished in my PhD study. The first one is the airborne conducted voice authentication. The second work is the ear canal scan-based ear ID authentication. And the third one is finished after the proposal, which is the acoustic environment matching and watermarking. And finally, I will conclude this presentation. So the reason I'm choosing this topic is because we're in the era of the smart interaction. We are fortunate to witness the rise of advanced mobile and wearable devices, pursuits of the immersive and seamless experience. And we also have the human-centered multimodal interactions, such as natural voice to communicate with the computer, and we can use our gesture to control those devices. And finally, we have the growing up demand for the personalized applications. So this fantasy also comes with the risk. For example, to provide a better user experience, the personal device may collect the sensitive personal data such as age, gender, income, and race. So if it may by the attacker can make the unauthorized access to those personal device, those sensitive information can be stolen. And on the other hand, the user now frequently share the personal content online, for example, on the social media. So those personal identifiable information like facial image or the voice contents can be misused as well if they are published online and everybody can have access on it. So in this dissertation, we wish to prevent both the unauthorized access or the misuses of the published content, especially in the acoustic domain. So for the first motivation, it is to prevent the unauthorized access to the account or the personal device. So this is basically categorized into the user authentication problem. So basically, user authentication is to answer who you are. So we have the knowledge-based authentication, which is passwords, security questions, and etc. They are answering this question by something you know, and the possession-based authentication, for example, use your cell phone to scan the QR code that is based on something you have. And finally, the biometric authentication, such as the fingerprint, iris, face, and voice, are based on something you are. So these three types of authentications allow the system to only authorize the legitimate user and block the attempts from the attacker. So here are the two key factors in designing a biometric or the user authentication system. The first one is the security, and the second one is the usability, which simply means easy to use. So let's take password as an example. Well, the complex password are definitely secure because it's hard to guess and compromise by the attacker. They are difficult to remember, so the lacks of usability. And on the other hand, the simple passwords are vulnerable to attack, but they are quite convenient to use. And similar stuff apply to the biometric authentication design. For the one used for higher security levels, we have the DNA and iris for fingerprint for the biometric modality with high entropy. And the other designs for the mobile and wearable device, we actually want them to be easy to use. So we have the facial recognition and the voice authentication. So we already have so many biometric designs. Why we still use the user associated acoustic signal? It is because we want to those acoustic signal captured around the human body to be secure and easy to use simultaneously. So we define the user-associated acoustic signal with the following points. First, it should be naturally and continuously generated during the daily human activity, and it can easily be captured by the mobile and wearable device. And finally, it encodes the distinctive physiological and behavioral patterns. So here are the examples. We have the speech signal, which is the most common one associated with the specific user. We have the voice and voice print. The physiological signal, such as the heartbeats, human activity like clapping hands, and even the device interaction, the sound you made when tapping the screen. So furthermore, the sensors required to support acoustics biometrics are low cost and cross-platform. So for low cost, I copied the data from DigiKey. The sensor for the speaker and microphone is usually costs less than $3. And for the designated biometric sensor like fingerprint scanner, it costs $32 and is 10 times expensive than the simple speaker and microphone. And for the cross-platform, because for the mobile device may have the vibration and audio sensors, camera, and fingerprint scanner. However, due to the compact design of the wearable devices, we want this sensor to also support the authentication in current and future mobile and wearable platforms. So acoustic is a good solution. Okay, so finally, as the voice authentication is already there, can we just rely on the common voice authentication, which is widely accepted by the user all over the world? So here is the workflow of the general voice authentication. We have 4 steps. First, we capture the user's voice sample, and we send the voice sample to the biometric engine, capturing the unique spectral patterns from the specific user. We call it voice print or the I vector, D vector, X vector. Then they create the voice template during the enrollment process and compare the new template to the enrolled voice print. If they match, we will pass this authentication attempt, and if it doesn't match, we will reject this attempt. However, the existing study also reviews this vulnerability, such as the AI voice changer, the text-to-speech, and the inaudible voice commands. So these three, the first 2 vulnerability comes from the AI-generated model, so they can generate the voice quite similar to the target victim. And the third one is the way they conduct they launch the attack to the target voice assistant, so it can inject the voice commands, which also inaudible to the human listener, so the attack will be stealthy and more leads to the severe results. So to strengthen the security, additional user-associated acoustic signals are needed beyond the voice. For the second motivation, we want to prevent the misuses of the published audio. So understand how it can be misused. First, let's say an example of spoofing and replay attack. So the user may publish an audio containing the speech "go ahead" on the social media, and the attacker can record and replay this to the mobile bank to authorize a $5,000 transfer. Because they're using the exact same user's voice, so the voice authentication may be bypassed. And another example is the copyright and ownership issues. The creators can generate the content online and published online, but it can also be illegally distributed by the attacker. So if there's no protection on the published content, we'll have the serious copyright and ownership issues. So for the second motivation, to this end, we can leverage one audio technology called audio watermarking, which utilizes the subtle distortions that can not be perceived by the human ear to watermark the information-bearing bits. So such watermarks can serve as the copyright to protect the content owner. However, we find the similar trade-off on the watermark's accuracy, which related to the security, and the audio fidelity, which related to the usability. So for the accuracy, we want high detection rate, but it requires stronger watermark and may introduce some artifacts. For the audio fidelity, we want to make with subtle changes, but it may reduce the detection accuracy. So in all, the audio technology must involve balance accuracy and the fidelity without compromising it. So here is the overview of my dissertation. The overall goal is to leverage acoustic for usability security. The first motivation, we want to protect the user, that is to develop the biometrics. And the second motivation, we want to protect the audio, so we use watermarking. And for the first work, we want to enhance the current voice authentication, even it has been already compromised using the existing acoustic attack. And the second work, we develop a brand new biometric modality and the efficient implementation using the ear canal scan. And finally, for the acoustic environment transfer, we show our work 3 in watermarking the roaming path response and show the future work. And specifically, those ones are the work 3 are the one finished after the proposal, so they are active progress. Here, let's go to the work 1. So the work 1, we first identified the reason why we first assume that voice print authentication can be compromised due to the reason I introduced before. So we want to have the same authentication effort, but achieve more secure voice authentication for the voice assistant. So we're leveraging the multi-factor authentication that not only rely on the voice print, but also exploits the useful authentication factors from the bone conduction signal. So the bone conduction signal are concurrent and correlated with the air-conducted ones, and they convey the information of the unique users' bone channels, and they are unique and secret. For uniqueness is because everybody have different body structures, and the secret is because it can only be collected when contact or using a contact accelerometer. So the air bone conduction in the vocalization process can be shown in this figure. When the user is speaking, they will generate a glottal vibration, and the acoustic energy will pass through 2 channels. The first one is the air filter, that is the vocal tract, mouth, and nose, and then propagate in the open air. They can be later recorded by the microphone. And for the bone channels, there are vibrations inside the human body, and they can be conducted in chest, skull, and etc., and only be captured by the contact accelerometer. So here are the signal and sensor characteristic. For the air conduct signal, the bandwidth is high as up to 4 kilohertz. And for the bone conducted signal, in contrast, the mean energy resides in the low frequency area. So it can sound different. I can play the sound for you.
On, off, stop.
So that's the AC signal. And for the bone conduction signal, it looks like sounds like this.
Off, stop.
So you can hear that most of the high frequency energy are missing. So they also miss the consonants parts inside and only keep the vowels. And for the noise coming from the AC conductive voice, they are background noise and background speaker. And for the noise from the bone conducted voice is the body motions because it's captured by the motion sensors. So for the device accessibility, we have the head-mounted display, the AR/VR headsets, wireless earbuds, smart headbands, all supporting the AC and BC recording because they have the microphone and a motion sensor. And here are the teardown for the Apple's AirPods. So they have the high-end accelerometer, which supports a bandwidth of 2.34 kilohertz and with a sampling rate of 8 kHz. So that is sufficient for the bone conduction applications. Here, we introduce the threat model, exploring the robustness and security challenge if we want to develop authentication in the air and bone domain. So the first is the noisy and airborne inputs. It basically means the background noise and the body motions when capturing such data. And the existing attack compromising the voice print method is to play back the victim's voice in the acoustic domain. So we assume the user is wearing the specific device. He's not saying anything or speaking other voice commands. However, the attacker may inject this channel by playing back the AC attack samples, so they can control your voice assistant without the user device access. And the third one is more targeted attack. If they know we are using the bone conduction signal as a second biometric factor, they may get the access of the user's device and put it on their own to generate a consistent voice and AC and BC attack samples. They can also put this device on the surface of the loudspeaker. They can also generate both the attack samples in both domains. So here is the system overview. We have 3 stages, the first one initialization stage and 2 authentication stage. In the initialization stage, we have the airborne signal preprocessing, that is basically to denoise and synchronize the AC and BC channels. For the first authentication stage, the stage 1 algorithm is the cross-domain temporal consistency. So we verify the same voice commands. And for the second stage, we are using bone conduction spectral features for the bone conduction speaker recognition. That is to verify the bone conducted voice is from the legitimate user. So let's go through the stage 1 algorithm, is temporary consistency scoring. The goal here is to extract and compare the vocalization activity in the time domain. So we first break down the 6 seconds utterance into the STFT analysis window, and we select the representative frequency based on the temporal variations in both air and bone channels. And in the third step, we calculate the Spearman correlation matrix among the formants for the air and bone channels. And the fourth step is we use this score. We use the maximum value in the matrix as the score to compare it with a predefined threshold. So if the score is larger than the threshold, it means they have the strong consistency between a correlation between the air and bone channels. So we can verify the received voice command is from the user's vocalization. And if they're not, it means they're from the AC attack sample is not really spoken out by the target user wiring the device. So here is the stage 2 algorithm. We are applying the speaker recognition in the bone conduction domain. So the goal here is to use the vibration to recognize different human users, and the second is the human and machine playbacks, because we want to identify different kind of BC spoofing attacks. So in the first step, we first use the constant Q transformation, the CQT, to generate the image-like model input, and comparing with the basic STFT, CQT can provide higher low frequency resolution, so it's good for the model training. And for the second step, we use the CNN-based model and the domain adversarial training. We have the ResNet blocks as the backbone layers to learn the BC feature. And we pass these features to a polling layer and forward it to 2 separate blocks. The first block is the speaker classification block, where we use the labeled user to learn the distinctive discriminative feature to learn the user representation. And for the second block is the condition classification block. So we don't want our model to focus too much on the recording conditions like you're nodding, turning the head, or moving. So we use this block to reverse the gradients and prevent the overfitting of the deep learning model training. So in the next step, we extract the bone speaker embeddings from the speaker classification block. We extract the logits from the first few layers, and we use this logit as a template in the enrollment process and authenticate by comparing the cosine similarity when this logic are extracted in the authentication process. So here are the testbed and dataset collection during the first work. We use the air conducted sensor. We use the in-ear microphone as the air conduction sensor and the ST accelerometer as the bone conduction sensor. So we instruct the user to wear the in-ear microphone and put the accelerometer against his ear, so it can record both air and bone conducted signal. For the dataset detail, we use the voice command dataset, which is from Google, and we recruit in total 31 users, and the number of spoken commands is 8,370. For the BC attack, we use the accelerometer to record the vibration from the attack device one, which is the loudspeaker, and another one from the iPhone. So for the stage one authentication, we show the results of the normal use comparing with the false trigger, and all the acoustic parameter used in the stage one is shown in table one. So for the normal use, we use the AC and BC voice commands, and for the false trigger, we practice samples by the AC noise and BC noise. So in the subfigures, we show three normal use and false triggering the score distribution in 4 seconds, 6 seconds, and 8 seconds. And they can be shown that the normal use have higher, constantly higher consistency score, while the false triggering have lower consistency scores. So separate sufficiently, we can set the threshold at 0.1 to achieve the good equal error rate as low as 1.3%. And for the result against the acoustic domain attack, we craft the normal use to the AC and BC generating voice commands and acoustic attacks using the AC spoofing samples and BC still be the legitimate user's other voice commands. So we consider the acoustic impersonation attack and acoustic replay attack. For the both attacks, we observe the higher acoustic the attack have higher consistency score, but is still sufficiently lower than the normal use. So by setting the threshold around 0.41, we can achieve the equal error rate as low as 4%. So here is the first takeaway. Based on the cross-domain consistency, those systems can, using the stage one algorithm, achieve 97 normal use accuracy and 4% acoustic attack success rate. So for the second stage authentication, we authorize legitimate bone conduction speaker. So we verify those in two modes. The first mode is the closed set identification, which is to find the most possible user in the training set. And second is the speaker verification to verify the unseen user matching with their own enrollment data. So the result is shown in the table 3, and for the classification, the accuracy is above 99%, and for the speaker verification, we want a lower equal error rate, and we observe that the longer the enrollment time, the more effective the authentication will be. And we can find in the layer 1 and layer 2 is always better than the layer 3 because the final layer can be overfit to the learned to the data in the user in the data set. So here are the second takeaway, the bone conduction speaker recognition can identify the seen user by more than 99% accuracy and can adapt to the unseen user with low error rate of 7%. So we also want the learned model. Okay.
Just for comparison, what is the accuracy rate for a fingerprint scanner?
For fingerprint scanner is much higher.
Like what is except that is it over 99%?
Yes, it's we always compare the equal error rate. So for that is 0 point something percent.
Okay, but to clarify, there's a difference in potential errors, right? Like there's identifying the user incorrectly, but there's just not working. And so is there like, so with a fingerprint scanner, there are times I could see it not working, you know, around 1%, but like identifying the user incorrectly is way lower, right?
Mm-hmm.
My cell phone one doesn't work for me probably at least 5% of the time.
Yeah. But it doesn't identify you as somebody. Probably.
I
mean, it doesn't do
I
that.
don't try 20 other things
yeah.
to get into my phone.
Right.
Yeah. So Dr.
Your phone, let's see.
That's the case. You'd have to.
Yeah, it's like the Dr. Marriage mentioned the point that is very, very valuable. So we have the identification and verification. So identification means we have 5 users and use our data to know which one in this 5 user you are from this pool. And the verification is we don't need you to share the data before the verification. You only need the enrollment data, and we verify if it match with the enrollment data. So that can be much difficult comparing with identification. Okay. So finally, let's discuss the learned feature. Can it be used for detect machine-induced vibration? So from this three sub-figure, we show that in blue that it is a genuine human BC signals for the spectral energy distribution, and the machine BC is having higher high frequency component comparing with the genuine one. So we just want to reuse our trained model to see the learned feature is useful in machine learning detector. So we test the 3 machine-induced vibration that from the laptop, iPhone, and Logitech conference speaker. And we train 3 machine learning classifier, the IDA, SVM, and triple layer neural network. And all of them can achieve very good accuracy in detecting the machine-based, machine-inducted vibration. So we can have the learned BC feature can easily detect and apply to the machine vibration detection and achieving 97% detection rate. So finally, we discussed the multi-factor authentication performance. So even when the voice authentication is compromised, the bone conduction can still offer the extra security. So the gain of the multi-factor authentication accuracy, it can be calculated by the multiplication of the true acceptance rate in stage 1 and stage 2 authentication, and is 96.3. And the MFA attack success rate is also the product of the false accept rate in stage 1 and stage 2, and is as low as 0.3%. So to summarize the work 1, we introduced the multi-factor authentication scheme to enhance the vulnerable voice print methods requiring the same speaking process. And we proposed a 2-stage authentication exploiting the dynamic behavior feature from the consistency and the physiological factor from user-specific bone vibrations. And finally, the proposed system is evaluated under the common and targeted attacks, achieving 96.3 MFA accuracy and 0.3 attack success rate. So let's jump to the work 2, that is the ear canal scan for the ear ID authentication. So first, we find the earbuds actually become one of the most feasible audio interface for the mobile device and the metaverse device, no matter it's wired or wireless. So it can majorly used for the audio display. They can support the long-time wiring and enable the hand-free interaction for the users. So our goal here is, can we also turn the earbuds into a biometric scanner that can identify different users who wearing these earbuds, and we also want them to be efficiently implemented on the resource-constrained device such as mobile phone and the wireless earbuds. So here is the ear canal scanning, the new biometric modality we're using. So how can we use the earbuds to recognize the people who wear them? The answer is we can use the ear canal response. That is to reflect the unique middle ear and the ear canal structure. So this system will work similar as the radar system to emit some wave and analyze the reflected wave. And here is the system of the ear canal scanning. So inside for the in-ear earbuds, it's equipped with the earbud speaker and the in-ear microphone. So by inserted firmly into the ear canal and transmit the chirp signal, the acoustic energy will bounce inside the ear canal and reflected by the middle ear. So those unique structures can be captured by the in-ear microphone, and we can use feature extraction to extract the unique features from the specific user. However, we always want an efficient authentication algorithm. The current methods for the ear canal-based authentication rely on the classifier, and they are training the machine learning classifier iteratively, which is insufficient on the mobile and wearable device, such as the wireless earbuds. So our goal is to use another authentication algorithm based on template matching. So we want to extract the unique information from the raw biometric data that can be a binary key. So in this way, to verify the user is much simpler because we can use the simple bitwise comparison by comparing the new generated key with the saved template. This method can be efficient, but there's no existing binary encoding scheme in the current literature. And we propose the EID. So this work, we want to develop an efficient ECS authentication between the earbuds and the mobile device using template matching-based authentication. So we have two authentication phase. The first phase is the enrollment phase, and the second phase is the authentication phase. So in the enrollment phase, it is requested by the mobile device, and the earbuds will initiate the ear canal scanning by sending out the chirp signal inside the ear canal and extract the impulse response. And then in the next step, they will run the feature extraction using FFT masking and use the cepstral analysis to extract the feature in the cepstral domain. And then because it's enrollment, we need to let the mobile device know the information from this specific users. So we send the cepstral features to the mobile device and generate some helper data, such as the feature mask. So the feature mask is used to filter out those the cepstral features which is not useful in the user authentication and only keeps the one that is unique comparing to the population data set statistics. So finally, we can share the mask back to the earbuds and store the key using the extracted mask and cepstral features. And we save this extracted key in the mobile device. And during the authentication phase, first we use the same ear canal scanning process and run the feature extraction, apply the mask shared by the mobile device during the enrollment to derive the new key K prime. The next step is the commitment. So we generate a random number from the random number generator, and we hash it to be a secret, and then we encode this R and lock it with the new generated key K prime. By sending the commitment to the mobile device, because the mobile device have the original extracted K. So if the K is very similar to K prime, we can successfully decode the random number K prime, the R prime, and the R prime should match with the R with very small bit error rate. So we hash this value. If they match with each other, we can authorize the access to the current user wearing this earbuds. And if it's not, we just reject this attempt. So this process is called fuzzy commitment, and we'll go through it later. So for the earbuds pre-processing, we have the scan and denoise process. The scanning process is just like the channel estimation in the wireless communication. So we send out the physical challenge, that is the sensing signal, the chirp signal, and we record the ear canal response. We use the known chirp signal to extract the ear canal and middle ear structure from the channel H. And in the second step, we find the external noise can be sufficiently attenuated by the occluding effect. So because it's an in-ear earbuds, on our ear ID testbed and the commercial AirPods, both of them can be attenuated well regarding the external noise. However, for the internal body sound, it's actually a problem because the ear canal is occluded, so the low frequency components will be boosted up to 40 decibels. And you can see the walking, sniffing, swallowing, coughing, and chewing, they're having even higher acoustic energy in the low frequency domain lower than 2 kilohertz. So in this way, we want to use a bandpass filter to filter out the low frequency regions for better authentication performance. So for the next step, we use the fast Fourier transform and normalize the FFT features. And then we use cepstral analysis to decorrelate these features. As you can see, the heat map, the correlation for the FFT feature can reach several kilohertz, but for the cepstral features, it's almost uncorrelated. So it makes it easier for us to remove or to include certain features that is useful for the authentication. And here, this is the responsibility for the mobile device to analyze the biometric information. So what is biometric information? It is the uniqueness measurement for the cepstral features. So by computing the biometric information, we can select only the unique features comparing to the global population. So the biometric information is defined in this equation, which is the Rényi divergence. As you can see, the alpha here is the control factor. When it's set near 0, it emphasizes the mass population, the mass distribution. And if it's set around infinity, it's emphasizes the rare cases. And the px and qx here are both the feature distribution from the user or the population respectively. So finally, we compute the biometric information for all the spectral features, and we use the Altus methods to apply the adaptive threshold, that is the mask, to only keep the one that is unique to identify this specific user. So it's originally proposed in the image processing, and it can equivalently minimize the intra-subject variation and maximize the inter-subject variations. So finally, by applying the mask to the spectral feature, we use the random matrix methods to project those masked spectral feature into higher dimension and binarize it based on the threshold set at 0. So here is the visualization of the derived year ID with the user and bitwise density. So you can see the dark color is representing the bit 1 and the lighter color represents 0. So for both user-wise and bit-wise probabilities, they are around 0.5, means they have balanced bit density and high entropy in biometric code, the binary code.
How repeatable is one row of it?
Mhm.
Like say, if we took user 1 and we did it 10 times, how repeatable is that row?
For the error rate?
Yeah, are they exactly the same each time? If I did it 10 times?
Yeah, they'll be almost exact the same with very small bit flips, and it can be later corrected by the error correction code. So the code here will be consistent because it's biometric. You cannot cancel it or change it. It's always it's a physiological feature. So if it doesn't change, it's a good thing to reuse in the later authentication process.
How many bits are there for one user? I missed that.
So for this figure is just for illustration purpose. In the design, we have 255, 512, and even 1024. Yeah. Right.
Well, actually, okay. So I was gonna say that's plenty of people, but I guess do you like the interperson correlation? Yeah, I guess that's sort of reflecting your entropy. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, so finally, from the earbuds and mobile authentication, we adopt the fuzzy commitment scheme. And as I introduced, we use the random number generator, the hash function, and the error correction code. So the advantage of using fuzzy commitment is we avoid the explicit biometric sample transmissions through the earbud and mobile channel. And we also use the error correction code to tolerate and correct the slight mismatch between the enrollment and authentication. And finally, the random number is used to protect the system from replay attack. So because the biometric, as Dr. Becker mentioned, it never changed afterwards. So we do not want it to be replayed by the attacker. So that's why we're using random number. And finally, the threat model for the proposed framework, we identify the passive attack, that is the attacker running ECS using its own ear for impersonation. And the synthetic ECS attack is to run the ECS on the silicon ear model for spoofing attack. The universal ECS attack is to use the dataset samples, which is most possible in the dataset as the input, try to bypass the ECS system. And finally, the key guessing attack, because we're generating binary code, so we can randomly guess the binary ECS key. So here is the data collection platform. We developed the hardware and software platform to collect the ear canal scanning data. We can craft the in-ear earbuds with the in-ear microphone, and we developed the software to configure all the parameters and having the authentication and the enrollment page for the user to log in and register and log into their own account. And the table 1 shows the audio and the ear ID design evaluation parameters. So let's take a break and watch the demo video. This design, we do this demo, we give all user and ask them to develop their own rare canal scan. And in the authentication, they make two attempts. First attempt is to validate his own account. Second attempt is to attack the others.
Wait, so they're, I didn't understand that. All right, sorry, can you replay it just once? I might ask some questions during it.
Okay. It's okay, you can ask right now.
Well, no, I had to see it. They kept popping up in my head.
Okay. So finally, because we actually evaluate 40 users, so 4 users just also for the illustration purpose. Yeah. So here are the accuracy and efficiency results we compare the accuracy of the proposed year ID template matching based methods and the classifier baselines. And we observe the similar equal error rate and balanced accuracy in both schemes. And for the proposed BCH1, for the proposed year ID, the BCH is the error correction code, and the 127 means the code length, and the last digit 10 means the error correction capacity. So we find that for the year ID based methods, the balanced accuracy is around 98%, and it's comparable to the machine learning based state-of-the-art methods. But considering the efficiency of the proposed methods, we analyze the training time for the SVM, random forest, MLP, and other boost, the machine learning classifiers to enroll one user. The training time for those classifiers is much higher than the one using the template matching based year ID. So no matter in all CPU cores or the single CPU cores, the year ID consistently outperform in the efficiency measurements. So the year ID offers a comparable accuracy with improved efficiency compared with the machine learning classifiers.
Do the arrows for those metrics mean like lower is better, higher is better?
Yeah, the equal error rate is the the lower the better. FAR means false alarm. FRR means false reject. Okay. So for the robustness evaluation, we show the multi-session and multi-day evaluation. So for the multi-session evaluation, we enroll the user in session 1 and use the successive 9 sessions for the authentication. The session 2 to session 5 is in the quiet environment, and session 6 to session 8 is in the indoor noise, and session 9 to session 10 is in the outdoor noise from street. You can see the legitimate user and legitimate model, both of them, their codes have bit errors lower than the red line, which is the error correction capacity for the selected BCH code. And for the passive attack, which is the other users trying to log into your account, the bit error rate is larger than 60 bits, which is definitely higher than the error correction capacity, which means the system will reject that user. And finally, we also show the result for the multi-day experiments. So in day 1 and day 5, the legitimate user number or the number of bit errors are within the error correction capacity. And for the passive attacks, they are consistently higher than this capacity, showing that our model is robust in the multi-session, multi-day test. So finally, we show the security evaluation on the passive attack, synthetic attack, universal ECS attack, and key guessing attack. So this curve is showing the red curve shows the false acceptance rate, and the gray curve shows the false rejection rate. And their intersection is the equal error rate when setting the bit error tolerance to certain bit error rate. So you can see in the passive attack, it's intersect at 8.9 bit error rate. So if we set the error correction tolerance to this level, the equal rate is as low as 1.2. And also for the synthetic ECS attack using the first configuration, this attack equal rate is 1%, and for the universal ECS attack is 0.2. And for the key guessing attack is 0% because our code has high entropy, it cannot be easily guessed in the limited trials. So the year ID is secure against virus identified attack. So finally, the summarize of the work 2, we propose the year ID. That is the first lemming-free user authentication system based on the year canal scanning biometrics and mitigate the burden of training machine learning classifiers. The year ID achieve high authentication accuracy up to 98.7 and is comparable to the classifier, which much faster in the mobile enrollment, which only costs 160 milliseconds, and the earbud key extraction only costs 322 milliseconds. And the year ID exhibits strong resilience against the false triggering and multiple threat models. So finally, let's discuss the work 3, that is acoustic environment matching and watermarking. So first, what is acoustic environment? The acoustic environment is the feeling of the acoustic recording made in a specific environment contains the acoustic cues that align with the listener's experience. So that means this is the feeling when you're listening to our audio recording, you can easily recognize it's made in my home or in a meeting room or in a concert hall. So it answers the where questions. So the magic behind this, the user can identify the acoustic environment is the roaming pulse response, or IR. The IR is a linear time invariant system shaped by the wall and the floor reflections, or echoes. So it can be affected by the room size, room shape, and surface material. And it can also change the perceptual experience when you're listening to the audio recording. So for the IR, let's look at this figure, and you can see the red point means the source, and the blue point means the listener on the microphone. So we have the 3 components. The direct sound is the straight path from the source to the listener. And the early reflection is the first few bounces of nearby surfaces. And finally, the green curve shows the later reverberation, that is the dense and diffuse decaying sound after multiple reflections. So because it's in the diffusion region, they have no clear directions and it's dense and decaying exponentially. So here is the figure showing the energy and time curve, the energy and time. So the direct sound is the first arrival, and it contains the most energy. And the early reflections, they are sparse and having strong energies as well. And for the late reverberations, they are dense and occurs at a different rate in different frequency bands. So for the acoustic environment matching, it is an engaging application to modify the source and make it perceptually replicate the target's acoustic environment. And for example, it can be useful in the film production when the dialogue is made in the studio, recorded in the studio, and it can be further made it sounds like in the scene, in the post-processing manner. And it's even more useful when translating the conversation in a foreign language, so we can preserve the user's listening experience. And it's also useful in the immersive AR. So when they allow us, when we stay at home, it can be sounds in any possible environments in the virtual world, such as in the meeting room. So the key here is to reconstruct and synthesize the matched scene. We need to know the target roaming pulse response to make it happen. So how can we get the target roaming pulse response? So we can use direct measuring methods, but it can be impractical because oftentimes we have no possibility to go back to the original environment where the acoustic recording is made. So we tend to extract the roaming pulse response from the target reverberant speech that can give us a more flexible AEM solution. So for example, we get this target reverberant speech from the YouTube or Netflix, and we use the machine learning model to extract the roaming pulse response from the reverberant speech. And by convolving it with another clean speech, we can make the environment transfer speech sounds like just in the target environment. However, this method also enables the arbitrary relocation problem and can raise the security concerns. For example, the user can put his own voice in the movie or in the uploaded published audios, but without a membership, so it can have the copyright and ownership issues. Also, it can be used by the malicious attacker to launch the better spoofing attacks. So they can make the fake evidence of the audio recording to prove the presence when they are at the certain environments. So how can we mitigate those security concerns? The key idea is we can simultaneously extract and watermark the roaming pulse response during the AEM process. So it can be detected afterwards of the presence of the watermark or the message bits from the watermark. So the proposed system is called EcoMark. It works in 3 steps. We have the IR encoder, the IR generator, and the watermark detector. So the input is the reverberant speech. We convert it into the spectrogram, and in this step, we want to extract the target IR and embed it into the fixed length embedding vector. And in the second step, we want to generate the perceptual similar roaming pulse response with a watermark embedded for the acoustic environment matching. So we generate the IR and we convolve it with the clean speech to generate the transferred audio. And in the third step, we decode based on the transferred audio to reconstruct the watermark presence and decode the message embedded in the watermark, which is the 0 and 1 bits. And there are 3 challenges found to achieve our goal. The first challenge is how to extract and encode the IR-related acoustic features. The second challenge is how to generate a variable IR in different lengths and type to maintain a high perceptual quality while a watermark is embedded. The third challenge is how the watermark is detected after the post-convolution in the AEM process. So we tackle the challenge in 3 designs, one by one. The first design is we use the IR encoder with a conformer model. So look at the example of the clean and reverberant speech spectrogram. We find that the clean speech, the IR's effects span across a wide time and frequency regions. So we need an encoder to capture the both global and local features. In this way, we adopt the successful transformer-based model, which is the conformer with integrating the transformer and the convolutional layers to capture both global and local features in the machine learning architecture. And then we use the attentive polling module to aggregate extracted features in the time domain to derive a one-dimensional embedding that embeds the full information of the IR in the target speech. So the conformer and the attentive polling ensures effective IR embedding. And the second design is to generate the perceptual similar IR with watermarking. So first, we mix the message information in the message embedding, and we add them to the extracted IR embedding, regardless of IR variations. So in this case, we can use the tilde R embedding to generate the IR waveform from the embedding vector. To ensure the fidelity, we use 2 different architecture and generates the early reflection and late reverberation in 2 branch. This is because we just introduced the IR physical modeling. So for the early reflections, they can generate directly using hi-fi GAN architecture. So they are the sparse sparse impulse-like waveform. And for the decurrent model, we want them to specifically generate the decaying envelope and filled by the noise with different decay bases and amplitude. So this method is called decur, and in this way, we can let the model to learn fewer and physically meaningful parameters instead of generating all the raw waveform samples. So in this way, the model learns the parameter effectively, and the IR generated is physically meaningful thanks to the IR modeling. And finally, for the third design, we want to detect the watermark in the latent domain. This is because we can reuse the same architecture from the IR encoder, but may have different weights. So in this way, we can enable robust detection because we transfer the environment transferred speech into the same latent domain where the watermark is embedded. So in this way, we first use the blocks in the gray box, the same architecture from the IR encoder, and then use few linear projection layers to generate the message, which contains 5 information bits and 1 bits for the watermark presence. So the problem formulation is like this. The D here is the detector, and the Y tilde is the test reverberant speech. So if it is from the ecomark model, which we embed watermark in the IR, we will decode as 1 and n. And if it's not from the specific the watermark model, the watermark presence is 0 and Z is the random bits for the message. So here we use the symmetric architecture allows encoding and decoding to be trained inside the meaningful latent domain. So here are the loss functions we use to train the deep learning model. The first one is the IR loss to ensure the perceptual transfer equality. To be specific, we use the STFT loss, which is the sum of the SC loss and SM loss. The SC loss is the STFT differences divided by the Frobenius norm of the ground truth STFT spectrogram. And the SM loss is the log differences of the STFT. So the STFT loss itself is the combination of these two in multiple resolutions. And then we use the EDC loss, that is the energy decay curve, measures how fast the energy decays. So we use this loss to make the estimate IR to have the same decaying speed with the ground truth. So if you look at this figure, you will find the ground truth IR looks very similar with the ecomarked IR. And here is another objective for the IR watermark, IR ecomarked IR is the watermark embedding. So using these functions, using this loss function, we want to decode the correct y hat and compare it with ground truth bits yi. So it has n+1 bits. The first bit is for the watermark presence and the 5 bits for the message. So if in this function we're using the hinge loss, when the predicted bits y hat is correctly, which means it has the same sign with the yi, the loss function can be 0 because the second term can be negative when the model is confident. And if the prediction is incorrectly, the linear loss will present because the yi and yi hat has different sign. So the second term will be a linear loss function, so it can sufficiently penalize the deep learning model. And this method alleviates the gradient conflicts with IR loss for the fidelity in the late training process. Okay, so finally, let's move to the evaluation. For the IR dataset, we use a combination of the published accessible RWCP, RVB, AIR, and BUTS containing more than 2,000 diverse IR samples. And for the clean speech, we have the Libre speech dataset and have over 100-hour clean speech samples. And the metric we use here for the room acoustic, we use the RT60, that is the reverberation time. for the sound to decay to 60 decibels after the source stop. And the DRR means the ratio of the energy, the direct sound, to that of the reverberant sound. MOS is a psychoacoustic evaluation, that is the mean opinion score from the listening test from from 20 users. And the accuracy and BER is a measurement of watermark performance. Finally, the results of the overall performance is shown in this table. For the baseline comparison, we compare the proposed EcoMark with the state-of-the-art IR reconstruction model, FINS. So regarding the T60 metric, our model actually outperformed the state-of-the-art model with lower bias, less RMSE, and much higher linear correlation coefficient. But for the DRR metric, our proposed methods witness higher absolute bias, but we will show you later, it doesn't affect much for the human perceptions. And more importantly, our model can enable the watermark embedding with as high as 100% watermark detection accuracy and as small as 0.3% bit error rate, while the state-of-the-art IR reconstruction model do not have this capacity. We also compare the result with the noisy input. So we set the IR from 0 dB to the 20 dB, and the room acoustic measurement are almost the same, except for the 0 dB has slightly increased error. And for the watermark accuracy, they are consistently good. The detection rate is higher than 99%, with the bit error rate smaller than 0.3%. And here are the human listener mean opinion score. It is a 5-point evaluation from the questionnaire. So we evaluate 20 users and we display 15 acoustic environment matched samples to the listener, and they report the opinion score by measuring the quality of the original speech and the transferred speech. So from the figure, we can show that almost more than 50% of the users give the highest score of 5, and about 79% of the user give the score above the average. So here are the AEM examples you can listen to. The first one, I will play the target environment reverberant speech.
The past and present wilt.
So this is the clean recording convolved with the IR. So as a reference, I will play the clean recording.
The past and present wilt.
So by convolving the IR extracted from the target environment with the clean recording, we get the transferred environment. So in this case, we just use the same content, so you can easily compare.
The past and present wilt.
So I will play more. So the first one and the third one are the target environment and the transferred environment, and they sound very similar for the user to identify the acoustic environment, and they have the highest mean opinion score of 4.8. And here is a second example.
I have filled them, emptied them, and proceed to fill my next fold.
Okay. And here I directly played the transferred audio.
I have filled them, emptied them, and proceed to fill my next fold.
So this one is not as good as the first one. So the mean opinion score is 3.8. And let's show the last one.
Of the future. Listener up there, what have you to confess?
All right, and the transferred audio.
Of the future. Listener up there, what have you to confess?
Okay, so the transferred audio, I don't know how you feel about that, but to me, it sounds similar to the target environment, and the mean opinion score supports that conclusion because they have as high as 4.5 mean opinion score. So perceptually, it's similar to the target environment, and we have the watermark embedded. And here are the results for the other impacts, and we already showed the impact of noisy reverberant doesn't affect much for the AEM transfer process. And we also show the impact of speaker variations of different human speaker. We show that the T60 RMSE, and it doesn't it doesn't show clear distinctions, and we find they are below, they're within a very low RMSE region. And for the impact of room types, we find the small room, medium room, and large room with different T60 distributions. And the arrow bar here shows the RMSE. We can see that for the small room, the RMSE is larger than the medium and large room because the IR is small. So to embed sufficient watermark information, it may sacrifice a bit on the room perceptual quality, but it doesn't. It's just slightly larger than the medium and large room cases. And for the small and medium large room on the beta error performance, interestingly, the large room actually have the biggest beta error rate. This is because the STFT loss may dominate in such cases and sacrifice a bit on the watermarking accuracy. However, all of them are lower than 0.4%, so it's already sufficient for the proposed application. So finally, we show the sequential mode as alternative methods to sequentially watermark for the long message. So because our model can generate perceptual similar room impulse response, so we can generate a family of them embedding different binary watermark. Then we can chunk the clean source speech into small segments, and we select a watermark to convolve with the one for the ideal for the long message transmission. And here is the results showing equal marks detection process. So for the input sample, we substitute the first 20 seconds for the watermarked audio and leave the last 20 seconds for the genuine one without the watermark. And our model can successfully detect the watermark's presence in the first 20 seconds with 0 bit error rate on the binary message. Okay, so finally, the summary of the walkthrough is we introduced the EcoMark, the first AEM system to integrate watermarking while maintaining the perceptual fidelity. And the EcoMark embeds information-bearing watermark into the generated IR and corresponding transferred audio, and without compromising the AEM quality. The third one is the experiment result shows the EcoMark achieved 99% accuracy, smaller than 0.3% bit error rate, and a mean opinion score of 4.22 out of 5, which matching the room acoustic comparable to the SOTA model. So here is the limitation and the future work for the work 3. So for the limitation, right now we don't have the well-defined attack. Say, unlike speech watermark, there are a few operations can maintain the feeling in the same environment. So we can only try the robustness evaluation in isotropic noise and background music. However, for those ones usually used for the speech watermark like bandpass filter and lossy compressions, they are not applied to the IR watermark case because they essentially change the acoustic perception of the IR embedding. And then the noise in the scene are ignored in the current design, but it's also key factors to the environment identification, such as the AC noise. And finally, the multi-channel audio embeds the spatial cues for the source direction and also essential for immersive experience. So in our future work, we will include the noise and multi-channel in our design to give a full immersive acoustic scene transfer with watermark proactive protection. And we also want to build up a system in real time instead of like the current post-processing manner. A phone conduction signal were exploited to enhance the voice authentication through multi-factor authentication. The second work, we use the in-ear acoustic sensing and we use the binary code for the learning free template matching based authentication that can be efficiently run on the wireless earbuds. And in the work 3, we developed the EcoMark, leveraging watermarked IR from the target reverberant speech for proactive protection in the acoustic environment transfer. So here are the selected publication during my PhD study. The 2 are under review, and here are the conference and journal publications. And 3 patents finished with Dr. Melpan. And finally, thanks for listening, and I'm ready to answer your questions. Thank you. Okay. One more slide. Okay.
So I'm missing something pretty fundamental with your third sort of project here.
Mhm.
Can you go back to the description real quick? So just the oh that's so I don't quite understand what you're protecting. Like I understand the concept of applying a transfer function
Oh, I
that
see.
simulates a room, but I didn't understand because you're referring to it as watermarking. I guess that's sort of the fundamental thing I don't understand. Is what was the key idea there? Maybe I missed that. Simultaneously extract and watermark the IR. I mean, so what's the security aspect of the room-based watermarking?
So if we develop some methods that can extract the IR from the reverberant speech, the attacker may use it to generate, for example, the fake evidence that he was in, for example, he's in the lab.
Okay.
Actually, I'm chilling at home, but I can generate those fake transferred audio. And there must have a way to detect this one is fake, not the real one. So we use watermark.
Okay. So water, like when I think of a watermark, I think of something that you are introducing into the true signal.
No, we are introducing watermark to the one who used our model to try to avoid the legal issues. So if someone use our model for some bad uses, we want to use the watermark to say, okay, we actually prevent this kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Sure. Because it seemed mostly about like, creating transfer functions to sort of simulate relocation.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, we're in general. So this is more, I know it doesn't directly have anything to do with your work in number 3, but like, is there any work in, like, what are the limitations for potentially deconvolving this signal, right? Because that seems from a perspective of like making things easier to hear, I guess. That seems like an interesting aspect of this is undoing, because you can apply this transfer function. How easy is it to undo? Like, what are the limitations for that?
Yeah, you mean the de-reverberation.
Yeah.
To make the sound more clear, right?
Yeah.
I prepared the slides for you. Yeah, it's showing the later. Okay, here. So our method can also use this for the de-reverberation. So for the speech signal, actually we're doing is not to decouple the ground truth clean speech with the IR we don't know. Actually is to train a machine learning model, apply a time and frequency mask. So this mask is applied to the spectrogram, and you can see the input reverberant speech is kind of is in a mess. So this mask is having the same dimension of the time and frequency. So we train this mask because we have the knowledge from the data set. The data set know what speech looks like, a clean speech looks like, and what is IR looks like. So they can use the synthetic data to learn how can I define the, how can I train this mask to preserve or to make it as close as to make it to be similar to the estimated clean speech. So this one is the de-reverbed signal. I should compare it with the clean speech, but it looks like this looks much better comparing with the reverberant one. So it's a time and frequency domain mask that work.
But how does it sound?
I can share you the way
yeah.
later.
So how do you, so you're training a machine learning model to, essentially this is sort of like a phase mask, I guess. Like, so this is a piecewise multiplication or pointwise multiplication.
Pointwise, yeah.
So, so how do you get the training data to do this type of, I don't know, it's almost regularization.
So the training data, because we must have the supervision signal, so we must have the ground truth clean speech.
Yes.
And IR may be not know, it's okay. So we must at least have the clean speech. So the training is actually possible. We made it possible by convolving the clean speech with our IR data set. And the model is only take the reverberant speech as the input and use the clean speech for the loss function computation.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so would it be possible to do it because you're basically undoing your synthetic convolution? Would it be possible to do that for an actual, like the real audio? I mean, I'm trying to think of how you would collect. I guess you could record something, and then you can, the recording can be the ground truth, and then you can put the recording or the tape player in the room that you want to.
You can physically present in that room. Yeah, but that can be very difficult to work in practice. For example, you are making the film, or after that, all this process are finished, and you go back to the studio to translate it into a different language. So in the studio, you cannot have the similar perceptual environment in that specific scene. And it can be costly if you go back to the original environment. And for example, if the film is made in the castle, you need to pay for that to go back to that specific environment. But in this method, you can just use the previous recorded audio to simply do the acoustic transfer, environment transfer.
Let's see. Slide number 45.
45.
Yeah, sorry. There are these red ones. So yeah, there. What's sort of intuitively happening with these step-like patterns in the red line? Like, what's causing the percentage to like bump up? Because it looks quantized.
Because we are collecting the data from the real experiments, so actually they are not continuous because it's not theoretical stuff, it's from the data.
But okay, so the steps that are actually going up, are those smoothed a little bit, or did you say like, okay, so if there was actually quantization going on, I would expect really hard steps, right? But some of those are not. Some of those are kind of, there's a little bit of a curve. It's smoothed a little bit. Does that make sense? Like,
I understand your point.
yeah. Is it just because the line itself is smooth, like you use some interpolation?
Yeah. Suppose we zoom in a very small region. This is 0% and it's just 3%. So we just want to show the detail in this small region. So we have a big picture in 100%.
I know. I just mean like the line, or this line right here. Like there are some of these are
Oh, sorry.
fairly smooth, right? Like that's sort of smooth. I guess I'm just wondering if that's real or not. If
Oh, this is because in this region, this is the false acceptance rate, right? So when there is a user making, actually it's because it's how it calculated. So if
you'd
there's,
expect to see step response.
yeah,
I
if
would
there's
either
one,
expect to
yeah.
see step responses or smooth responses, but this looks like smooth step responses.
Because
Is that
the
it?
user, for example, their bit error rate exists certain, threshold, it will be counted as a false accept. So one sample it goes up, one sample it goes up, one sample it goes up, right? So it's
Yes.
like quantized one. But why this one is look like more smooth? Because for the false rejection rates, they all pushed in this region. So they are more dense distribution. So actually, they are also smooth afterwards when it's going to higher bit error rate and higher false acceptance rate. So this here is just to show their interaction in this region. But because most of the population or is in this area is not showing this figure. So this is just a few false acceptance samples. So
Right.
one happened just increased by one. But for the gray curve, because all the samples are in this region, so they can think because here it's approach zero, right?
Yeah.
So almost all of them are here. So and it can be can be smooth because they have much more data in this region. So you can have continuous and dense
So-
points here.
Right. So I'm not talking about the gray line though.
Mhm.
I'm talking about the red line. I was just let me ask this in a different way.
Mhm.
Oh, is the red line smoothed at all? Like so you're plotting several points,
Mhm.
right? If I just connected those
Mhm.
points, I would expect it to be straight. Right.
Yes.
I'm just curious if there is any smoothing going on with the in the final line that you're drawing.
It's a bit smooth. So actually you can think of it as a piecewise or pairwise
Okay,
one.
that I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
is because
Is
like
this Matplotlib or what?
Yes,
yeah, but like Matplotlib, I still would expect it like a linear,
Cubic spline.
yeah. Because like this right here, I
Mhm.
guess like if I'm seeing this feature,
Mhm.
right? Like I'm curious if that's real or if that's just like a data point there and a data point there and a line just drawn between them.
Oh, this is just two data points, but maybe there's one much
Okay.
close to this.
Because like is that even at the end here,
Okay.
it looks like it's sort of, it's like curving. I'm wondering if the features are.
Yeah, because afterwards it becomes looks like more continuous. But you're right, it's just some points we
Like
we
normally, when I see curves like this, they're straight or they're smooth because there's a lot of data collected, but this looks like straight and then it's smooth.
Yeah, that's
It stood out.
you're right, because in this region it's kind of sparse points, so it looks like points are connected with each other.
My other questions are crap. It sort of minor stuff. So somebody else should go.
All right, thanks for asking. Any other questions, Dr. Baker?
Oh, for sure. The Birknow method, what's the most important contributions of your work here? And what is the key? Or what makes your stuff special?
So for the year ID one, the most special thing is we made the binary key extracted from the ear canal based biometric sample. So if it's binary, we can leverage the template matching authentication that is much efficient compared to training a machine learning model. So we use a key extraction algorithm instead of the machine learning training. And this algorithm is designed into a complete framework using the security design like the fuzzy commitment and the key extraction, the random number generation, something like that.
Like a private key sort of thing, or is it a public key sort of?
No, it's not cryptographic on the way of that. It's just a biometric key. So that key, we let's say it's
think
just use.
I think you need to make it simple, right? It's that's too detailed. I think for year ID one, the most important thing is we are kind of learning agnostic. I'll say so. We don't use a learning-based approach, right? We use a learning-free approach so that we can make the computing really, really minimum. We can make this kind of authentication become local. For example, your AirPods in the future we don't need to transmit the signal to the server. Just use your earbuds. We can do the authentication, stuff like that, right? But
All the
there
processing
are a
is
lot
done
of
on the
detailed
earbud.
design over there. Yeah.
Sorry.
So all the processing is done on the earbud?
Yeah.
In earbuds and between earbuds and mobile device. But for the authentication one, you can see the framework, the major part is in the earbuds, and also the mobile just verify the key from the earbuds to see if it match with the stored one.
Because nowadays earbuds have certain kind of computing capability, right? So compared to the traditional approach, I think his major contribution is we will not necessarily need to transmit everything back to the server and the server do the learning-based approach, do the authentication and send it back for authentication. We don't need to do that. We can do that locally. I think that's one of his major contribution, differentiate his work from others.
What has prevented commercial, acceptance of, I can buy an NEC earbuds that do user authentication, but it does, I mean, it doesn't seem very popular. I mean, they've been selling those since 2018.
Mhm.
Why hasn't it taken over?
I think for the authentication, the earbuds authentication you mentioned, does it really rely on the ear canal scanning, or is just the voice-based authentication using earbuds?
I mean, they call it ear canal scanning,
Okay.
but I just um, is there has there been a limitation to your commercial acceptance of this?
I don't know, maybe I don't think maybe there's too small data, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
For the
So
for this work, I attend the KI conferences. Actually, I think lots of companies are making earbuds with this kind of capability, and it will be released in the future. And they also come with other, medical data collection, capacity for the modern earbuds. And ear canal one is one of them. So I think you will see them later in 2 years.
no, I think we talk with some
There.
VC. I think one of the key concern they have is because we only do the experiments on limited samples, right? But we know that from the academic level, we have a limited funding to do the experiments, right? So we can do 30 people, 40 people, but we cannot do 3,000 people,
44.
right? 3 or 4,000.
44.
Oh, 44, yeah, whatever. It's around 40, right? So, yeah, our product only support 40 or 50, right? So $30 per person. So, yeah. Another thing is for all the
Cybersecurity.
biometric authentication, only the fingerprint and iris, they're medically proved they're unique. Even for voice, for the ear canal, whatever, in particular for voice, it's not unique. So, and those we see people want to say, okay, if your approach can be used for the payment authentication, they're more interested in that. Just like the Apple Watch, although I think their biometric is not secure as well, but they can use for the payment, right? So we can, and in the future, if we can extend that to the payment based on security, that will be more attractive. But in current stage, I think the popular application or the promising application will be some hand-free authentication. For example, Aaron, if your wife have another baby, I know you have a lot, but yeah, just have another baby. If they're young, if your wife or you hold them in your hands. But if you close the car can automatically open, or the trunk can be automatically open if you do some grocery, right? As long as your earbuds detect, okay, that's you, that's Aaron, is the owner of the car, something like that. Another scenario I try to project is we try to do some smart gym. You work out and I work out recently, right? We have a smart home, we have a smart car, we have a smart smart grocery, but we don't have a smart gym, right? In the future, you wear the earbuds, you go to the training machine or whatever, the difficulty level is automatically set up, right? You just step into there, everything is set up, and also this earbuds. It can provide some private coaching. Just what's that company? Called Patagon or what? There's a smart bicycle. Peloton. Peloton. They sell their bicycle like $5,000 $6,000. Just adding an iPad over there on the bicycle, then $5,000, right? So in the future, if we got do a small level smart gym, I think that would be interesting. But that really depends on the whole ecosystem, right? It's not only our work, it's together with some other works together, then probably we can make some noise. But just with this, I will say it just provides another convenient authentication approach. If we go to, more practical contribution, that would be that. Yeah. But if you dream big, now I think it's a lot of possibilities. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Pan. So basically, the biometric security, we should match it with the how much security we need for a specific application. If it's for the border control or for some other serious issues, you need to train it in a larger group of population. So this is the only way we can prove some biometric is secure or supportive in this kind of application. So if it's just for the account login or the device unlock, I think it's sufficient to test in less than 100 users. Any other questions?
Any question from online community members?
So I have a follow-up.
Sorry, we have a question from the on-site audience. That's
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Very excited to see the second one.
Yeah, I cannot hear you. Sorry.
I'll stop recording here. Okay, this is too much recording.